Okay, good morning. I'm really excited. You ready to go? Yeah, okay. So today we already discussed we're going to talk about engineering today, right? So we're going to get into the engineering design process. So without me telling you what that is, what do you think that is? And how does it relate to the engineering field? My friend with these water issues. What do you think? Totally. That's exactly what it is. And it's a very generic, what did he say? I'll sit right down here. Oh, you did? Okay, please speak louder so that everyone can hear.
You go to make an object, it's required in a specific value.
Exactly. So, it's pretty generic, actually. But we'll get into that more later. So, can you tell me what do engineers do? Yes, sir. They make inventions that help other people. That's good. Anybody else have any ideas? Like if you could sum up what engineers do in maybe like 2 words. Like really simple, very concise. They definitely build things, that's very good. They fix things, you're getting very warm. They design things. You got a little cold. So they fix things. I'm loving the fix things. Let's push that. Think about math. And you have, that makes it away. I'm going to stretch you. I want to hear it. This is very important. This is very important. What do engineers do? They fix things. They help people, right? Is that what you tell me again? How much your what you use? So they help by making inventions. So basically, they are problem solvers. Engineers are problem solvers. They identify problems and they come up with a way to solve them. Does that make sense? So engineers are problem solvers that use math, science, and ingenuity to design solutions. What's another word for ingenuity? Creativity. You haven't heard somebody say, oh, that's ingenious, right? So that means that was creative. That was something that they had never heard before. Engineers use the engineering design process as a guide to help them solve the problem. So, just to go into engineering a little bit, there are many types of engineers, right? So meaning they're solving different types of problems. What types of engineers do you guys know of? Can you think, oh, I love this. Environmental and chemical, love it. So environmental engineers, what kind of problems do they solve? Problems dealing with the environment, right? Okay. Electrical, beautiful. So they are going to solve problems dealing with electricity. Okay, I heard electrical, environmental. I hear what I studied. Well, we got Alyssa's major in. Talk to me. Think about the problems in your life. Somebody, it's like your home and you're driving, everything. The problems everywhere that are problems. Motor, mechanical engineers, okay. Anything else? So my major was civil engineering. So that means engineering dealing with people. So we solve problems dealing with people. There's several subdisciplines. We have water resources, transportation, several others. But anyway, so we said mechanical, I mentioned civil, because I was being selfish. Biomedical, so they, I know you guys, right, Houston has the Texas Medical Center, you know how they build hearts and lungs, artificial lungs, artificial hearts, those are biomedical engineers that are doing that. Electrical, we did mention aerospace, there's petroleum, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now, can you name a few engineering projects that's usually taking place in Houston? They're everywhere. That's okay. That's okay, so you know the engineer personally, they told you about the project. So what about like when you're driving around, or about your school, or about your home? Talk to me. So he fixes things in a building, and he builds stuff, so he can design a building and actually leads in construction. Okay. So he's an engineer. Let's see. Metro is building light rail lines, right? New light rail lines in the city. Have any of you guys seen MLK, right? That's a major engineering project. It's solving a problem. What's the problem that it's solving? People can't get around, right? It's very difficult to get around in the city without a car. So somebody said, hey, that's a problem. Let's solve it. Any other engineering projects? No, I know you'll see construction work all the time. Huh? Of course. Of course. Okay, so let's get into the engineering design process. The first thing is we're going to ask, right? We're going to talk about this. Y'all like that? We're going to ask, we're going to identify the problem. You can't solve something unless you know what you're solving, right? And then next we're going to imagine all of the solutions that we can come up with to solve that problem. And then we're going to come up with a plan to solve the problem. Now the planning part is probably the most intricate because you have to think about everything, what materials you're going to use, how much it's going to cost, how many people do you need, everything. Okay, and then next we're going to create our solutions. That's the fun part, right? And then we'll evaluate what we've created. And if everything is okay, well, not after we evaluate it, then we can ask ourselves, okay, have we solved the problem? Is everything okay? Exactly. It goes in a circle. It doesn't matter where you start, you continue in the circle. And the design process is iterative. So, and I think Ethan mentioned this earlier, so if we make our drone and then we figure out it doesn't work, then we have to go back to the beginning. Cool? Alright. So, now for the drone that we're going to build, what is the problem that we're attempting to solve? Or is this just supposed to be something fun? It can be something fun to do, but we can learn at the same time, right? So think. Well, first of all, let's talk about drones. What are drones? Like, you don't have to give me a textbook definition. Just very simply, what are drones? They hover. They're robotic, basically. So they're unmanned, and someone can control it remotely. Now, why would that be useful? To help us see or observe things, maybe that we wouldn't want a human to be there, right? Maybe extreme temperatures, extreme climates, just something that might, or maybe safety reasons, right? So if you can send an unmanned vehicle in, then you can do the same things, right, that a human can do without posing a risk. Okay, so we know what a drone is, so we know that it's going to allow, we can control it without putting ourselves in a situation. So the drone that we're going to build, what problem is it going to solve? What will it allow us to do that we could do ourselves? Record. Well, I think he's recording right there. I'll say recording for
I'm recording.
Throw all the attention there. So obviously we can record without a drone. maybe we could record at a height that I might not normally be able to record at, right? Maybe I can record at angles. For instance, he's stationary. There's no way that he can come behind me or to the side and see and record from this angle, right? But with a drone, you can go wherever you want to go, wherever height you want to go, right? And you can record. So that's the problem that you're solving. It provides greater functionality. Y'all with me? So we already talked about that. Okay. Now, what do you think will need to go into our plan when we build our drawing? What do you think we have to think about? What are some of the things? We're talking about building a piece of machinery here. You can't just get out there and just do it. Hello, just the aesthetics, right? The aesthetics, how is it gonna look? Talk to me. Aerodynamics, okay. What else? I'm kind of thinking this. Maybe. What else? Excuse me, my grandfather is an engineer. What else do we have to put into our plan? What do we have to think about? Let's continue talking about it. So the way it's gonna look, we have to think about aerodynamics. We have to use electricity, so we have to figure out how we're gonna power this thing. Oh, so you're thinking about ways that we can power it. I love it. What you wanted to do? Well, we already figured that out, right? We wanted to record video. Okay, so what are you gonna make it with? Don't you have to figure out your materials? Yeah, so we need to plan out our materials. Now, we could put gold on this thing if we wanted to, right? But there are constraints, so we have to consider cost. Cost is always huge in any engineering project. That's in life, right? Cost is a factor. Okay, what else do we have to think about in our plan? There are no wrong answers. Because you know what? The thing about planning, you have to think about everything. So what you might not consider, someone else might consider. And that's why engineering projects involve teams, interdisciplinary teams. So everybody can put the 2 cents in. Just say it. Oh, I'll come back to you. Okay, so we're going to figure how we're going to protect the parts. So now we're talking about the inner mechanics, like the actual design. That has to be a part of your plan.
If we can pick up a shirt and put a baby shop,
Beautiful.
That is so important. Y'all see like commercials, a little crash test commercial, see the car? Yeah, they actually do that. I mean, you have to test it to know its limits, to see how much stress it can take.
I see that you can use the whole.
Is that not? Okay, so exactly. Now I have the materials, but I have to put them together. So what you're saying is we have to think about fastening, adhesives, or whatever we're going to do, right? Am I hearing you correctly? To actually hold it together. So we have to think about all of these things. So that's a big part of the engineering design process. So once we come up with our plan, everyone reviews the plan and we think that that's a good plan. Then we go, then we create, right? That's the most exciting part. One thing I didn't mention, we did talk about though in our plan, we come up with our materials, like everything we're going to use, we actually, when you talk about build things, there's also an assembly plan. You have to figure out what part we're going to put together first because you don't want to design it and then realize, oh, I should have put the battery on the inside and now, you know. Does that make sense what I just said? Yeah? Okay, so after we have created our solution, we have to evaluate it. What does evaluate mean? Geniuses? To judge it, yeah. What's another word for evaluation? This is not an SAT word, my friends. I would like synonyms for evaluate, please. Observe it, thank you. What else? No, you hold it. need something going on in this area. Thank you.
To stay, use it as a
I can hear you.
statement. Use it as a statement.
To use it as a statement, you can evaluate something by using it as a statement. Estimate, that's a way to evaluate definitely. Okay. Beautiful. So basically, we're gonna analyze it, judge it, figure out, okay, has this solved the problem that we set out to solve? And if it doesn't, then we would have to go back to the beginning of the engineering design. Okay, now what methods could we use to evaluate our drone? Let's think about it now. We know we're gonna build one. So after we finish building it, how can we evaluate it? How will we know if our design is successful or not?
Yeah, just.
We have to test it. Now how will we test it? Definitely, going back to the scientific method, right?
Maybe you could try out this much, but not the actual.
Make a prototype. Ah, so we could make a prototype, maybe on a smaller scale, see if that works, and if it does, then we can make the big one, right? Spend the real dollars. That happens all the time. Who has no models, right? How many people can test out one time? Right. So our whole, we have to make sure the video works, right? We have to make sure it hovers correctly. We want to make sure it's stable, because if it's all shaky and we can't get it to stabilize, it's not going to do what we need it to do, right? Because we have to, and that's something we're going to have to think about in our plan. Like, what are we going to involve in our drone design that would, maybe we can add a stabilizer or something like that, or a level, so